You have been the perfect girlfriend material, shown interest, been supportive, made yourself available, and still watched him treat you like an option. You've been kind, understanding, patient, and instead of him stepping up and chasing you, he's taking you for granted, or worse, pulling away completely. Here's the brutal truth most dating coaches won't tell you. All that advice about being sweet, accommodating, and always there for him, it's actually training him to see you as background noise in his life. Being the cool girl who never demands anything doesn't make you irresistible, it makes you invisible. So why does this approach backfire so spectacularly? Because men don't chase what they already have. And if you're always available, always understanding, always putting his needs first, you've essentially handed him all the power while asking for nothing in return. That's not attractive. That's convenient. But when you understand the psychology behind what actually triggers a man's chase instinct, when you tap into the primal wiring that makes him want to pursue, prove himself, and win you over, everything changes. In this video, I'm not going to give you more be yourself platitudes or tell you to play hard to get. I'm going to show you exactly how to shift your energy and presence in a way that naturally activates his hunter instincts, not because you're playing games, but because you understand what actually drives masculine psychology. If you're tired of being taken for granted and ready to become the woman he can't stop thinking about pursuing, stay with me. So what actually triggers a man's biological drive to chase, not pursue casually, not show mild interest, but truly feel that primal need to win you over and keep you? It's not your beauty, though that might catch his initial attention. It's not how much you text him or how available you make yourself. The real trigger is something psychologists call intermittent reinforcement paired with high-value perception. Here's how it works in his brain. Men are evolutionarily wired to pursue what appears valuable but not easily obtainable. This isn't about being manipulative. This is about understanding that his nervous system is designed to respond to challenge, mystery, and the possibility of loss. When something feels too easy, too guaranteed, his brain literally categorizes it as low value. Think about it from his perspective. If you're always there, always saying yes, always accommodating his schedule and his needs, what message does that send to his subconscious? That you don't have options, that you're not in demand, that he doesn't need to work to keep you because you've already proven you're not going anywhere. But here's what most women misunderstand about creating challenge. It's not about being cold, mean, or playing hard to get in some juvenile way. It's about being genuinely busy with a life he wants to be part of. It's about having standards he has to rise to meet. It's about being warm when he earns it, but unavailable when he doesn't. The masculine mind is competitive by nature. Men are conditioned from childhood to want what they have to work for, to value what they had to earn, to treasure what they had to prove themselves worthy of receiving. When you make yourself too easy, you're actually working against millions of years of evolutionary programming. Here's where it gets really interesting psychologically. When a man has to invest effort, time, and emotional energy to win your attention, his brain starts justifying that investment. I must really like her if I'm working this hard. She must be special if I'm putting in all this effort. That's called cognitive dissonance, and it's one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. But there's a crucial difference between being high value and being difficult. High value means you have standards, boundaries, and a full life. Difficult means you're creating obstacles for no reason other than to create obstacles. One makes him want to step up, the other makes him want to step away. The real secret is understanding that men don't just want to chase. They want to chase someone worth catching, someone who challenges them to be better, someone who has her own goals, her own standards, her own world that he has to earn access to. That's not playing games. That's being a woman who knows her worth. Most women give their power away in the first few interactions. They're so eager to be liked, so afraid of being rejected, that they make themselves completely available and completely predictable. But predictability is the enemy of passion. Certainty is the enemy of excitement. When you understand this psychological principle, you realize that making him chase isn't about withholding affection or being cold. It's about being someone worth pursuing, someone with standards, someone who doesn't just fall into his life, but someone he has to actively choose and work to keep. In the next section, I'll show you exactly how to create this dynamic without playing games or losing your authentic self. Creating genuine challenge isn't about manipulation or head games. It's about becoming genuinely challenging to win over because you have high standards and a full life. There's a massive difference, and understanding this difference is what separates women who attract genuine pursuit from women who just confuse men. So how do you actually become someone worth chasing? It starts with what I call authentic unavailability. This means you're not artificially creating distance or pretending to be busy. You actually are busy because you have a life full of things that matter too. Oh, you have goals you're pursuing, friendships you're nurturing, passions you're developing, and standards you're maintaining. Here's the key principle. A man should feel like he's earning access to your world, not like he's the center of it from day one. When he texts you, sometimes you respond quickly because you happen to be free and you want to. Other times you respond hours later because you were genuinely engaged in something important to you. That natural rhythm creates the psychological space he needs to actually miss you and think about you. But let's get specific about how this looks in practice. When he asks you out, don't immediately rearrange your schedule to accommodate him. Check your actual plans first. If you're free and want to see him, great. If you have commitments, offer an alternative that works for you. This isn't playing hard to get. This is respecting your own time and teaching him to respect it too. Another powerful way to create authentic challenge is through what I call selective availability. Be fully present when you're with him, but don't be constantly available when you're apart. This means not responding to every text immediately, not always being the one to initiate conversations, and not dropping everything the moment he wants attention. Here's what happens in his mind when you do this correctly. He starts thinking, she's interested, but she's not desperate. She has her own life. She's choosing to spend time with me, not just accepting whatever attention I give her. That perception of choice on your part makes him feel like he's winning when he gets your attention. The psychological trigger you're activating is called scarcity principle. When something feels scarce or limited, we automatically perceive it as more valuable, but this only works if the scarcity is real. If you're genuinely busy with meaningful activities, if you genuinely have standards about how you want to be treated, if you genuinely have other options and interests, then your limited availability feels authentic and attractive. One of the biggest mistakes women make is creating artificial scarcity while having nothing actually going on in their lives. They'll ignore his text for hours just to seem busy, then spend those hours obsessing over his message. That's not authentic unavailability. That's game playing, and it usually backfires because the energy behind it is still desperate and focused entirely on him. True challenge comes from being someone who has something to offer, but also something to protect. You're not just looking for any man to fill a void in your life. You're looking for the right man to add value to an already fulfilling life. That shift in mindset changes everything about how you show up and how he perceives you. Another crucial element is emotional challenge. Don't just agree with everything he says or laugh at every joke that isn't funny. Have your own opinions. Challenge his ideas respectfully. Show him that winning your respect and admiration actually means something because you don't give it away freely. The goal isn't to be difficult or disagreeable. The goal is to be genuinely interesting and genuinely interested in substance, not just validation. When he realizes that impressing you requires more than just showing up, when he understands that keeping your interest means being his best self, that's when the real chase begins. Coming up next, I'll show you the specific behavioral patterns that activate his competitive instincts and make him want to prove himself worthy of you. Men are wired to compete. It's not toxic masculinity or some character flaw, it's biology. From childhood, males learn to establish their worth through competition, achievement, and proving themselves. When you understand how to channel this natural drive toward winning you over, you tap into something incredibly powerful in his psychology. But here's what most women get wrong about male competition. They think it means creating jealousy or making him compete with other men. That's amateur hour. Real competitive activation happens when you make him compete with the best version of himself, when you set a standard that challenges him to rise up and meet it. So how do you actually do this? First, you have to understand that men respect women who have standards, even when those standards make things more challenging for them. Actually, especially when those standards make things more challenging, a man will complain about a woman with high standards, but he'll chase her. He'll settle for a woman with no standards, but he won't pursue her. Here's a practical example. Let's say he's been inconsistent with communication, taking days to respond, leaving you hanging. Most women either accept this behavior or get angry and emotional about it. But there's a third option that activates his competitive drive. You simply become equally inconsistent with your availability, not out of spite, but out of genuine self-respect. When he finally reaches out after disappearing for 3 days, you don't respond immediately just because you're relieved to hear from him. You respond when it's convenient for you, and your response doesn't carry the energy of someone who was waiting by the phone. This sends a clear message. Inconsistent effort gets inconsistent access. What happens in his mind is fascinating. He starts thinking, wait, she's not just sitting around waiting for me. She's actually busy. Maybe I need to step up my game if I want her attention. That's his competitive instinct kicking in. He realizes he might lose access to you if he doesn't improve his effort. Another way to activate competition is through what I call earned intimacy. This doesn't just mean physical intimacy, though that's part of it. It means emotional intimacy, time intimacy, energy intimacy. Make these things something he has to earn through consistent, respectful behavior, not something you give away hoping he'll reciprocate. Here's the key. Men value what they work for. If he gets your full emotional investment after one good date, if he gets your complete availability after a few nice conversations, if he gets all your attention and energy without proving he's serious about you, why would he work harder? He's already won the prize without having to compete for it. But when you make your deeper levels of investment contingent on his demonstrated interest and effort, you create a dynamic where he has to keep proving himself, not in an exhausting way, but in a way that keeps him engaged and pursuing. This is where understanding masculine psychology becomes crucial. Men don't want to win easily. Easy victories feel hollow. They want to win something worth winning, and they want to feel like they earned it. When you give too much too soon, you're actually robbing him of the satisfaction of pursuit and achievement. Think about video games, sports, career goals, anything men typically pursue with passion. The common thread is challenge. The reward has to feel proportionate to the effort required. If a video game is too easy, it's boring. If a sport has no competition, it's meaningless. If a career goal requires no effort, it's unfulfilling. The same principle applies to relationships. If winning you over requires no effort, improvement, or investment on his part, the victory feels meaningless. But when he has to bring his A game to earn your time, attention, and emotional investment, suddenly you become someone worth fighting for. The beautiful thing about this approach is that it naturally filters out men who aren't serious about you. A man who just wants easy access and immediate gratification will move on to someone with lower standards. But a man who recognizes your value and is genuinely interested in you will rise to meet your standards. In the next section, I'll show you exactly how to communicate these standards without coming across as demanding or high maintenance. Communication is where most women either give away all their power or come across as controlling and demanding. There's a sweet spot that creates attraction, maintains your standards, and keeps him chasing. And it all comes down to how you frame your boundaries and expectations. The secret is in what I call outcome independence. This means you communicate what you want and need without being attached to his specific response. You're not trying to control his behavior. You're simply letting him know what it takes to access different levels of your time and energy. Here's how this sounds in practice. Instead of saying, "You never text me enough," or "Why don't you call me anymore?" both of which come from a place of neediness and complaint. You say something like, "I really enjoy our conversations when we both have time to focus on them." That's it. No demand, no complaint, just a clear indication of what you value. What you've done is communicated a standard without making it his problem to solve. You've told him that quality communication matters to you, but you haven't demanded that he provide it. If he wants to connect with you in a way that you'll respond to enthusiastically, he now knows what that looks like. This is where most women lose the game entirely. The moment he starts pulling back, becoming less available or seeming less interested, they panic and do exactly the opposite of what would actually bring him back. They chase harder, become more available, and essentially reward his pulling back with increased attention. Here's what you need to understand. When a man pulls back, it's not necessarily about you. Men process emotions differently than women. They often need space to figure out their feelings, deal with other areas of their life, or simply reset emotionally. The worst thing you can do during this time is chase, because chasing confirms his subconscious feeling that he needs space. But here's what you should do instead, and this is counterintuitive but incredibly powerful. You mirror his energy and then become even more unavailable than he is. Not out of spite or game playing, but out of genuine self-respect and emotional intelligence. When he starts taking longer to respond to texts, you take even longer. When he becomes less available for plans, you become genuinely busy with other things. When his effort decreases, your availability decreases proportionally. This isn't punishment. This is natural consequence. What this does psychologically is fascinating. First, it prevents you from appearing desperate or needy, which would only push him further away. Second, it forces him to actually feel your absence instead of taking your presence for granted. Third, it activates his loss aversion, the psychological principle that people hate losing something more than they enjoy gaining it. Here's the crucial part. While you're mirroring his decreased availability, you cannot be sitting around obsessing over him or waiting for him to come back. You have to genuinely redirect your energy toward other things that bring you joy and fulfillment. This isn't about pretending to be busy while secretly hoping he notices. This is about actually investing in your own life and happiness. The energy behind your actions matters more than the actions themselves. If you're pulling back strategically while still being emotionally obsessed with him, he'll sense that energy and it won't have the desired effect. But if you're pulling back because you genuinely value yourself too much to chase someone who's not enthusiastically choosing you, that energy is magnetic. Here's what often happens when you handle his pullback correctly. After a period of decreased contact, he starts to wonder what you're up to. He might check your social media, ask mutual friends about you, or simply find himself thinking about you more. The space you've given him allows him to actually miss you instead of feeling crowded by you. But here's the most important part. Don't just wait for him to come back. Use this time to genuinely evaluate whether his behavior aligns with what you want in a relationship. Sometimes when we stop chasing and start thinking clearly, we realize that his pullback actually revealed some incompatibilities or red flags we were ignoring. A high-value woman doesn't just wait around hoping a man will decide she's worth his consistent effort. She continues living her life, dating other people if she chooses, and focusing on her own goals and happiness. If he comes back with renewed effort and appreciation, great. If he doesn't, she hasn't wasted time or emotional energy chasing someone who wasn't ready to appreciate her. This approach also prevents you from falling into the trap of thinking you need to convince him of your worth. Your worth isn't up for debate. Either he recognizes it and acts accordingly, or he doesn't deserve access to it. That mindset shift changes everything about how you handle these situations. Remember, a man who's genuinely interested in you won't stay pulled back for long if you handle it correctly. But a man who's not that interested or who's just keeping you as an option will often fade away when you stop making yourself overly available. That's not a loss. That's clarity. The goal isn't to get any man to chase you. The goal is to attract and keep the interest of a man who genuinely values you and is excited to be with you. Men who require constant chasing to maintain their interest aren't usually men worth having anyway. Next, I'll show you how to build the kind of unshakable confidence that makes this entire approach feel natural and authentic. Everything we've talked about so far only works if it comes from a place of genuine confidence and self-worth. You can't fake this energy long term. Men are incredibly intuitive about whether your standards and boundaries come from strength or from insecurity disguised as strength. Real confidence isn't about thinking you're perfect or never feeling uncertain. It's about knowing your worth regardless of any one person's opinion of you. It's about being so solid in who you are that you don't need external validation to feel whole. Here's how to build this from the inside out. First, you have to do the inner work of identifying where your self-worth actually comes from. If it comes primarily from male attention and relationship status, you're building on shaky ground. Your worth has to be anchored in something more stable: your character, your goals, your values, your contributions to the world. Start by making a list of everything that makes you valuable that has nothing to do with relationships: your career achievements, your friendships, your talents, your character qualities, your growth, your dreams. These things existed before him and they'll exist after him. That's your foundation. Next, develop what I call outcome independence in your dating life. This means you can want a relationship while being completely okay if this particular person isn't the right fit. You're not trying to force something to work because you're afraid you won't find anything else. You're evaluating whether this person adds genuine value to your already fulfilling life. Practice saying no to things that don't align with your standards, even small things. Every time you honor your own boundaries and preferences, you build trust with yourself. That internal trust translates into external confidence. Also, invest heavily in your own life outside of dating. Pursue goals that excite you. Build friendships that energize you. Develop skills that challenge you. Travel, learn, grow, contribute. The more interesting and fulfilled you are as an individual, the more attractive you become to others. Here's a crucial mindset shift. Stop seeing being single as a problem to solve and start seeing it as an opportunity to create the most attractive version of yourself. When you're genuinely happy and fulfilled on your own, you attract people from a place of strength rather than need. Remember, confident women don't chase because they don't need to. They know that the right person will recognize their worth and act accordingly. They also know that their happiness doesn't depend on any one person's approval or attention. The most attractive thing about genuinely confident women is that they're not trying to be attractive. They're just living their lives authentically, pursuing what matters to them, and being selective about who gets access to their time and energy. That authenticity is magnetic. When you reach this level of inner confidence, everything else we've discussed becomes natural. You're not playing games or using techniques. You're just being a woman who knows her worth and expects to be treated accordingly. A man doesn't have to chase you because you're manipulating him into it. He wants to chase you because he recognizes that you're someone special, someone worth earning, someone who adds genuine value to his life. We've covered the psychology behind what makes men chase, how to create authentic challenge, ways to activate his competitive instincts, strategic communication, handling his pullbacks, and building unshakable confidence. Now, let me tie this all together with the most important truth of all. The woman a man can't stop pursuing isn't the one who needs him the most. It's the one who chooses him most intentionally. She doesn't chase because she doesn't need to. She doesn't play games because she's too busy living her life. She doesn't have to create artificial scarcity because she's genuinely valuable and genuinely busy with meaningful things. This woman has standards, not because she's trying to be difficult, but because she knows what she deserves. She communicates clearly, not because she's trying to control, but because she respects herself and others enough to be honest. She maintains her boundaries, not because she's playing hard to get, but because she's protecting her energy and well-being. Most importantly, she's not trying to get just any man to chase her. She's living her life in a way that naturally attracts men who are capable of appreciating and pursuing a high-value woman. She understands that the right man won't need to be convinced of her worth. He'll recognize it and act accordingly. The goal isn't to become someone you're not. The goal is to become the most confident, authentic, and intentional version of who you already are. When you do that, you won't have to make men chase you. The right men will naturally want to pursue, impress, and keep someone who obviously values herself. Remember, you're not trying to be chased by everyone. You're trying to be pursued by someone worthy of you. There's a big difference. The techniques and mindsets we've discussed will filter out men who aren't serious while inspiring the right man to step up and prove himself worthy of your time and attention. You deserve to be chosen enthusiastically, pursued consistently, and valued deeply. When you believe that and live accordingly, everything changes. You stop settling for crumbs of attention and start attracting the kind of love and pursuit you actually want. The power has always been yours. Now you know how to use it.